Alright, it's Catch AIDS and I am the Heavy Metal Picker, and I'm back with another video guaranteed to get me millions of views and tons of clout. Now, I could have made a list of my favorite death metal demos, but I'm feeling pretty damn lazy. So I'm just going to give you my number one pick. The demo I repeatedly listen to, go back to, never get tired of it, and it is Conceived Through Vomit by Regurgitation. Justin Horval of Hells Headbangers has expressed interest in releasing this on CD and vinyl, but it seems like Regurgitation themselves think this amazing gem is a colossal turd. What the hell do they know? Musically, this is much more thrashy than the Tales of Necrophilia album. The song structures are more simple, they're easy to follow, they're memorable, and they're super catchy. If founding frontman Ben Deskins, his vocal delivery was a little bit clearer, these songs would definitely have more of a sing-along quality. But with a name like Regurgitation, you can definitely expect to hear the vocalist sound like some inhuman monster puking at a very low pitch. Another example of this is Disgorge. With a name like that, gotta sound like you're disgorging. Now back to Ben Deskins for a second. A few years ago at a show with his more current band, or parallel band, let's call it, Necrotic Disgorgement. I guess that was kind of a spin-off of Regurgitation, depending on how you want to look at it. I was talking to Ben at this show, and I told him how much I was bananas over the Conceived Through Vomit demo. And he made this look like this, like, ew, the stink face. Like, if I was to ask, the hottest model in the land to go out on a date with me, like if an ugly guy asked the hot girl out on a date, the girl makes a stink face. So that's what Ben did. So I don't know what's going on with him. But apparently he doesn't like this demo a whole hell of a lot in retrospect. So learn to take a compliment, Ben. About the demo itself, first it opens up with this instrumental called Gruesome Hallucinations. It's pretty cool. Now, Ben used to have this song on his voicemail like 30 years ago. And next song is Enfeebled, another killer song, Sandpaper Abrasions. It's a catchy song with another kind of sing-along chorus. I think, according to Brian, that there may be another recorded version, like a somewhat more recent version of that song. By somewhat more recent, I mean 1999 rather than 1995. That's what I mean by recent. And the song Vomited Birth after that. I'm pretty sure they took this riff from a King Diamond song. Tell me if you can identify what King Diamond song is. Alright, then we got Rotting in the Bowels of the Dead. Check out this killer harmony. That's awesome. Love it. So I sold my Conceived Through Vomit demo to Michael Tachi. He's like a pretty well known in the underground, various message boards and stuff like that. Now, last time I met Regurgitation frontman Brian Baxter, it was just prior to the pandemic. He would have been playing with Embalmer here in Columbus, and I had suggested back then of maybe having the Conceived Through Vomit demo as bonus tracks on a future issue of Regurgitation's Tales of Necrophilia album. And he scoffed at this idea, and he's like, I don't play on that demo, bro. And Justin Horval said the same thing happened to him when he brought this up to Brian. Now think about it. Does George Fisher say, oh, I didn't play on the first 4 Cannibal Corpse albums, bro? The guys in Napalm Death say, oh, we didn't play on the Scum album, bro. I mean, it's part of the band's history. It's cool, So you might wonder, if Brian didn't like the demo, then how the hell did he get into Regurgitation in the first place? Here's my theory. Now, I believe drummer Dan Baker joined Regurgitation first before Brian did. And then he convinced Brian to join Regurgitation on bass because, the more technical, brutal direction Regurgitation was going into would be more to Brian's liking. And Dan and Brian had both played with each other in the band Sodomized from Cleveland prior to playing in Regurgitation. By early 1998, the buzz in the underground was that Brian was taking over Regurgitation, both vocally after then vocalist Rob Gaines was kicked out, but also Brian was taking over in a leadership role as well, despite him not being an original member. History has shown this is correct. Now, the first time I would have seen Regurgitation would have been March 1996. They opened up for Cannibal Corpse during the Vile tour cycle. Other bands that played that night, Golgotha from Marion, Doom Formation, who was another great band from Columbus. We'll get more to Doom Formation later. And there was at least 2 other bands that sucked. And the show was at the infamous Alrosa Villa, where Dimebag Darrell and 3 other people were killed. Me and my friend Michael Glasshouse arrived toward the end of Regurgitation's set. Now, on our way over to Columbus from Sydney, Ohio, we've been smoking weed, and this is before GPS, like a million years ago. So we kind of got lost in Columbus trying to find the Alrosa Villa. Pulled over to a gas station where there were some cops there, and we've been smoking weed, got weed in the car. I had a suspended license, but I walked right up to the cops, asked them, hey, you know where the Alrosa is? They told me where to go. And Michael Glasshouse, freaked out. He's like, oh, you got a suspended license, we got weed in the car. And I'm like, nah, you gotta just have balls, and it's all right. Now, I made another video about Michael Glasshouse and how he flew to Florida in an attempt to meet Trey, and he also attempted to, he suggested the idea of pulling a Nathan Gale on Trey from Morbid Angel. Again, that's in another video, and he had wanted to do this to Trey in 2002, 2 years prior to the Alrosa Villa incident. But that's in another video, whatever. So the second time I'd seen Regurgitation, they had now recruited former Doom Formation vocalist Rob Gaines, and they re-recorded 2 of the songs, Vomited Birth and Rotting in the Bowels of the Dead, for a compilation that was released by Rocky Gray, who at the time was in Shredded Corpse. Sometime a few years later, after Shredded Corpse, he joined Evanescence. That's quite of a jump, huh? Also, for this re-recording, they had a new bassist, Tommy Chaffin. Tommy Chaffin died in 2017 of an overdose. He overdosed on prescription pills, and he died about a mile from here where I now live. How do I know this? Got the coroner report. Oh, rest in peace, Tommy. Stay away from drugs, everybody. So one memorable thing about this particular show, which would have been December 1996, maybe November 1996. Ben had this inverted cross guitar. I'm pretty sure it was a BC Rich. It looked cool, but I'm not sure a guitar that shape would be very comfortable to play. One other funny thing about this show, vocalist Rob Gaines, he had like really long red hair and he had split ends. And he's really tall, like 6'3". He's a little bit taller than me. So he's headbanging a lot. And the ceiling by the stage was pretty low. So on the ceiling, there were these exposed nails where the head of the nail was poking out and it hadn't gone through to the whatever was being held in place at the ceiling. He's headbanging a lot. And so his hair was like stuck on these nails. So after they were done with their set, Regurgitation walked off stage and you could see like little strands of red hair hanging from the ceiling. Now the third time, Regurgitation was supposed to play a show that I had put on in January of 1997. I called it the Ohio Death Fest. Now this is a full 2.5 years before Brian Baxter was, had not yet joined Regurgitation, had not yet put on his own much bigger, much better Ohio Death Fest. This was at Brookwood Hall in Dayton, Ohio. It was supposed to be the last show at this particular venue. And it was a disaster. I'll address some of this stuff in another video. But Regurgitation ended up not playing because it was January 1997. It was super cold, and the heater died around like 9:30 p.m. So I think a dozen mostly death metal bands had played that day. And anyhow, Rob Gaines, who I guess he got married that day, so like he was like totally pissed off, and he demanded $50. I reluctantly paid the band $25 and got the Cold Still Earth compilation, the compilation with the 2 Regurgitation songs on it. So that totally sucked. So the third time I saw Regurgitation was in August 1997 in Piqua, Ohio. I was born in Piqua, Ohio. At this show, there was Internal Bleeding, Deaden, Lividity, The Reefer Hut, Clean Flesh, and possibly Leveled. Now, Lividity recorded their live CD that day. I'll talk about that in another video. Brian Baxter had joined Regurgitation on bass at this time. He was not yet doing live vocals, though. And they played songs from the Conceived Through Vomit demo. But Dan Baker on drums played it differently. He played, what normally would have been double bass, or thrash beats, and he did a lot more blasting. So it was definitely different. And Rob Gaines was still on vocals at this time. Now, for the song Rotting in the Bowels of the Dead, Joe Wolf of Clean Flesh and Heinous Killings performed vocals alongside Rob Gaines. Now, I think maybe 2 or so months after this, Rob Gaines was fired from Regurgitation, presumably because of his attitude, which was why he was fired by his previous band, Doomformation. Now, during the show, Regurgitation also played a song called The Necro Butcher, and they played a song called Fetish for the Deteriorated, which I think became Acid Enema. And it's quite possibly they also played early versions of Menstrual Cycle, and I'm pretty sure they did Out of the Womb, End of the Cauldron, but I'm not totally sure. So anyhow, recently Tales of Necrophilia got reissued, and I've been going back and forth. There's no Conceived Through Vomit demo on the reissue that just came out, and I've been going back and forth with Brian about an interview. Brian, I need a date and a time. Maybe a location. I'm only a 2-hour drive from you, so get in touch. Now, speaking of which, how come I can't find any mug shots of Brian or Ben? I mean, like these guys, either of them or both of them had to have been arrested for like drunk driving or necrophilia or something, but I haven't been able to find any criminal records for either of these guys yet. So yeah, Brian, get in touch. I need specifics. And also, I want anyone who is watching this to repeatedly harass the members of Regurgitation to release the Conceived Through Vomit demo. Brian and Ben, get your ass to the basement or wherever, the attic, and get out the master tapes for Conceived Through Vomit. Take it on up to Justin Horville and Hells Headbangers. You guys even might make a couple of dollars. Brian can buy some hair dye for his gray hair. Hey, at least he has hair, right? And Ben, he can buy a couple more baseball caps. So here's another thing. Maybe the surprise that Regurgitation is going to do for their Dead by Dog show would be to play the entire Conceived Through Vomit demo. That would be awesome. But I think it's not very likely. I mean, they might do a cover of Infecting the Crypts by Suffocation, which they had done on another release. Maybe they'll throw Maggots into the crowd. That would be cool. Maybe there could be a necrophilic orgy. That would also be cool. So anyhow, check out the Conceived Through Vomit demo. Brian, get in touch. Everybody who likes Regurgitation, keep on pushing. Never give up. Eventually, we're going to have a proper release of the Conceived Through Vomit demo.